The money thing is so spooky. Financial incentives to get people to take medication that they might not really need.
Yeah.
And probably shouldn't take.
And, goddamn, I mean, if nothing else, I really think it's great that RFK is at least like getting a conversation started on a lot of this stuff, because it seems like almost nobody else was going to bring up this stuff. I one of the things that I thought was really interesting about the when you had him on the podcast, and that created like a huge, like storm. And then there was the thing with the Hotez guy refusing to come on and debate him when you offered. I think the pot was up to like $2 million or something like that. And it's like, it's funny how these guys from like the medical establishment, who have been wrong about just about everything throughout this pandemic. I mean, I don't know if you saw any of the compilation videos that were made of that Hotez guy going around just like at every phase getting everything wrong throughout this, but then still has the nerve to be like, this guy's spreading misinformation and it's dangerous and all this, refusing to come have a conversation with him. But you're like, okay, so here's RFK Jr. and he's going, look, America has the highest rate of chronic illness in the world, okay? Autism spikes through the roof in the last few decades. And his argument to me sounds that this isn't just that we started diagnosing autism. Like, because 50% of autistic kids never develop language. We would have known this. Like, we may not have called it the right thing, but we would have noticed people who don't develop language,
Right.
And so he's going, so we have the highest rate of chronic illness in the world. We have autism shooting through the charts. And he's going, look, here are some potential culprits for that. And so, okay, if you think that's all crazy, like, okay, but what is it? What is going on here? Because in the American political conversation, this never comes up. Nobody's ever bringing this up. I cannot think of a presidential candidate who's ever mentioned once that this is a thing.
Right.
That never comes up on CNN. That no one wants to talk about it. So, like, at least he's talking about, like, that seems, by the way, I haven't really ever been talking about that. I don't know what the answer to any of it is. Someone should be bringing that up.
I never even thought it was a possibility until the pandemic, until I read his book. When I read The Real Anthony Fauci, I was like, wait, what did they do? What did they do during the AIDS crisis? Because that's what's important. That it's not just about what's happening right now. It's about what they did when they pushed AZT through.
Yeah.
It's about what they did when they were injecting these foster kids with these experimental drugs and they died. Like that all that stuff is true, and it's fucking terrifying.
And this is why Hotez won't come on. This is why he won't come on with RFK.
Yeah.
Because he knows that this guy can go chapter and verse. And he's not like, you can kind of push him on defending his claims, but then he gets to push you on all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if Hotez was directly related to that, but I know he's in bed with that whole establishment. Like, he got funding from, you know what I mean? Like, all the same groups and stuff. Yeah. And like, it's like, okay, so this is who you're working with? These are the talking points that you're parroting?
Yeah.
And it's all.
The guy doesn't take vitamins, doesn't exercise, eats junk food, and he posts pictures of him getting the RSV vaccine. It's like, okay, buddy. That's the way to do it.
He got the RSV vaccine?
Yeah. Posted a photo on Twitter. By the way, he has it limited now. The only people he follows can respond.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like he's got this like little echo chamber he's got going on in his tweets now.
Dude,
me inviting him to have a debate with RFK.
Dude, the thing that drove me crazy about that was that then he turned it around and started playing the victim and going, like Joe Rogan's led this harassment campaign against me, and all these people on Twitter all day are like, like I'm being demonized by this whole group. And you sit there and you go like, yeah, as an unvaccinated person, I have no idea what that's like.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it's like for you to like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but not only that, it's bullshit because he said I had neo-fascist leanings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He'd been on the podcast twice.
Yeah.
And I've fucking chatted with the guy. Like he knows I'm not a fucking fascist. Like, what are you saying? You don't believe that. You're saying something you don't really believe, and you did it without like mentioning me. Like with the @ mention.
Yeah.
So somebody had to send it to me, and I was like, this motherfucker, like a neo-fascist leanings.
Like, you're telling me that the guy who is pushing forced vaccinations on behalf of giant private pharmaceutical companies is calling you a neo-fascist?
Yeah.
Like, do you have any idea what these terms even mean and who's being the fascist here and who's not?
Well, that's why I did it. And even then, I didn't insult him. I'm very careful about that. I don't like to engage in that kind of shit online. I don't think it's healthy for anybody.
Yeah.
Even if I have bad feelings towards a person, I'm not going to insult them like that.
Yeah. And there were easy shots to go after with the guy, but it's good you didn't.
I didn't insult him when he was on my podcast. He was telling me about his fucking diet.
Yeah.
I didn't insult him. It's like, especially when, I mean, the contrast between me and him physically, like someone who really does take care of themselves and then being lectured by someone who doesn't.
Yeah.
That the only way around that is vaccines. There's only one way. There's this one solution to this problem, this very complex problem called the human immune system.
Yeah. And 80% of the people hospitalized for COVID were obese, something like that.
Something crazy.
Like, it was like
comorbidities of the people that died.
Yeah.
Like some large number, like more than 70% had 4+ comorbidities.
I think, if I remember correctly, it was like something like 50% had 4 comorbidities or more, and then like 95% had at least one. You know what I mean? It was basically like almost all the COVID deaths were very sick people.
Yeah.
And so like you would think, maybe that should at least be part of the conversation.
Right. And by the way, for people that like to cherry pick shit here, no one is saying COVID was nothing. No one. No, people say, oh, you're saying that COVID was nothing and the vaccines were bad. Nope. Not saying that. Never said that. What I'm saying is it's really bad for people that are sick already, for sure. People that have weak immune systems, it was really bad. But don't pretend that everyone's the same.
Yes. So I would say that COVID was a nasty virus, and if you were very old or very sick, you really did not want to get this thing, especially the early strains of it. You really did not want to get this thing.